Hi, welcome to the RAMS Agents Production Coaching Call. The goal of the call is to help you sell more homes by maximizing your repeat and referral closings by implementing the Referral Agent Mastery System into your practice. My name is Mike Cerrone, a co-founder of RAMS Agents, and my co-host is Angela Newman, a master trainer of RAMS Agents. Hello, Angela. How are you today?
Good morning, everybody. I'm doing fantastic. How are you guys?
Awesome. Awesome. Lots of thumbs up. That's good. All right, cool. So right at the beginning here, I just want to share a quick story. I was reading in Forbes this morning, and I get I'm old fashioned. I read out of the actual magazine itself, and there was an interesting story that caught my eye. And I don't know what even edition this is if you wanted to read it, but it's the most recent one. So it looks like April 21st to 26th. Anyway, I'm going to just read a couple excerpts out of this one called New Age Oracle of Omaha, New Age Oracle of Omaha. Kind of an interesting story, and see if you can pick up what the main concept is that I want us all to get for this call today. Again, remember, we're here in the production call. So I'm going to read a little bit of it because it's kind of interesting, at least it is to me. So they're giving this guy's life story. His name is Carson. His last name is Carson. And it was Ron, and he actually changed his name to Omani. Anyway, so Mr. Carson here, it says, hey, it's been a long journey from the cold cornfields of Nebraska, where Carson helped his alcoholic, sometimes abusive father run the family farm. At 17, he watched his over-leveraged parents go bankrupt. It was the one and only time I saw my father cry. Carson says, I had this relentless desire not to be poor because my parents went broke, and it severed my soul. As a 265-pound defensive lineman on scholarship at the University of Nebraska at Lincoln, he hustled to get rich. He lost his life savings of $10,000 betting on cattle futures with an unscrupulous broker, but found success selling insurance, cold calling farmers at 6:30 a.m. straight out of the phone book. He sat at their kitchen tables, connected with them over foul weather, unruly crops, and busted equipment. People trusted me, he recalls, even though I was truly an unconscious incompetent. In 1983, he went into business for himself, launching what would become the Carson Group out of his dorm room. He spent the next 6 years without an office, barely breaking even. Then, on a particularly rough day, he began phoning clients simply to check in without an agenda. At a time when most wealth managers were extremely transactional, focused solely on selling investment products to clients, Carson made it personal. I learned people's kids' names, their pets' names, everything. Good strategy and good timing as everyday investors began moving money away from traditional brokers and into the hands of registered investment advisors, which are legally required to act in the client's best interest rather than juice commissions from pumping affiliated products. Carson's annual revenues jumped from less than 30,000 to 1 million within 2 years. Despite operating from far from Wall Street or Silicon Valley, he was soon the highest earning advisor in his broker dealership network. To fast forward into the story to today, the business has 150 partner offices serving 54,000 affluent families across the nation. Let's see, Bain Capital purchased a minority equity stake, valuing his business at $1 billion. And he is only the second financial advisor to become a billionaire. And currently, his headquarters have $55 billion under management. All right, so a little success story here. All right, Mr. Carson, what do you think I want you to get out of that? Anybody got an idea?
I think two things, Mike. Um, there's more than two, but I think the first two that I want to bring up is number one, that you can go from making 30,000 to making over 1 million in just a couple years. in the sales business. And the other thing is the importance of building relationships and reaching out to people with no agenda and focusing on building strong personal connections rather than just on transactions.
Tristan, you picked up on the winning concept, and I would just make sure that you follow the logic that it was in reverse, right? We'll just flip those ideas. So because he reached out on a personal level, that resulted in a financial gain. Okay. So once he stopped trying to be, so as Kim would say, salesy, right, and pushed aside just the hardcore business side of his practice, and worked on the more personal side of his practice, really getting to know the people and help the people build relationships, as we like to say here in RAMS. Once he did that, things clicked, right? And in a big way. Now you have to do all the other stuff. You do have to do all the other stuff, but you have to have a theme that's going through your business practice, right? What do you stand for? This is what we do here. And we talk about that a lot. This is what we do here. What do you stand for? And so in his practice, what he stands for is connecting with the people. And it talks about that all throughout the article, about how he does that for he's done that for himself personally. And then he trains all of his people to connect on this emotional or personal level. Right. And you've heard that before, and sometimes it sounds like lip service, especially some of the people saying it when you hear from a big corporation. But he's put it into practice, and interestingly, it was able to scale. He was able to scale that up. So yes, Tristan, you nailed it right off the bat. The point that I was trying to help you guys get, which is make it personal, right? I learned people's kids' names, their pet names, everything.
It's like I've said, and you guys have heard me say, if you provide the service, you get the sales. If you provide the service, the sales will follow. You don't need to sell anything. If you provide the service, all of the numbers fall into place.
If you remember Kim's story from before, the last week, she was sharing the story of a lady that she met early on in her career who had this philosophy, and interestingly became one of the wealthiest women in Colorado. So this thing is duplicatable, right? This concept. All right, good. Anything else that anybody got out of that article or that idea, or any ideas you now have about what you'd like to implement before we move on?
Yeah, if no one else has a point, I think he focused on a niche that was kind of inherent to him rather than going to the big bankers or going to Wall Street. He just talked to the farmers, and growing up on a farm and his family being in farming, I guess he was able to relate to them and make a connection. So he kind of went off the unbeaten path and found his own niche that a lot of other people weren't focusing on.
It's an excellent point, Tristan. Excellent point.
He also found his big why because he saw what happened to his parents, and he didn't want the same thing happening to his family. So that fueled him his whole life.
Another good point, Mark. Good job. What else we got? Angela?
Where he started isn't where he ended up. So he started cold calling farmers in his local area, and that gave him a lot of skills and helped him in the future when he kind of switched gears a little bit. But yeah, so that was a good point too.
Excellent. Excellent. And on that, he was talking to people in his own area, right? And he was talking to people about something that he could relate to, being a farmer. And so he had an affinity for this group. That's the fancy word for it. He was able to connect with this people because he knew what they were going through. And that's what you want to look for in your business whenever possible, right? You don't have to sell that way, but boy, it sure does help, because as he said, they trusted him at that kitchen table, even though he was a young punk kid, right? They trusted him because he had stepped in their shoes. Good. All right, excellent. Well, thank you for listening to me present that concept and idea. Hopefully that's valuable for you in some way. This is again our production call where we talk about getting more repeat and referral. Does anybody have any good news that you would like to share? Any good news that you would like to share about repeats and referrals and using RAMS?
I have a listing going active today. And somebody that was listed with another agent before and just stayed in touch and kept inviting, came to my Pi Day, came to different things. And then when the listing expired, he reached out to me.
And this is a person in your PCSOI?
Correct. It's actually a family member. So,
And they're in another state, if I remember. You're working in two different markets.
yes, located in my hometown, but I still do work there and uh, regularly stay in touch with all my past clients there and my PCSOI.
Great, great story and lesson there. If we pick up on it, the lesson I'm hearing is don't give up on people, even if they've selected another realtor, right? Stay in touch, right? So for whatever the reason was, this family member picked somebody else to represent them initially. Angela didn't say, all right, that's it. You're done, cutting you off forever. Instead, she stuck in there and just kept offering service, kept offering an opportunity, kept inviting to her events. And here you go, turned around, property expired, and now she's the new agent listing the property and probably at a better price and better terms. Good job, Angela. I've been around a long time. In fact, a lot of people on this call have. Mark has as well. Angela, you have. You probably all, I remember early on in my career, I've been doing this 33 years, and I remember early on, there used to be a kind of a joke, and I'm trying to remember, I'll blow it. Maybe Kim can help me get the language right, but the basic concept was you don't want to be the first agent. You want to be the second or third agent, right? Because properties start to expire. It was a down or a slow market at the time. And do you remember what that phrase is, Kim?
Yeah, you want to be the firstborn son, the second wife, or the third agent.
Say that again. That's so good.
You want to be the firstborn son, the second wife, or the third agent.
Absolutely. We could all remember that one. Got to write that one down. That may become more and more valuable as our market slows down across the country. I know not all markets are slowing down, but a lot of them are. And it's good advice to be not to be that first agent who rushes in. When the markets are flying up, when everything's selling and everything's flying, you can go ahead and take a risk. You can take a risk on an overpriced listing because the market will catch up to you. But in a flat market or a slowing market, that's a risky proposition. You'll be sitting there forever unsold because you're going to be overpriced, and especially if the market's declining. Like my market, it's expected to go down 8% over the next 12 months. So in that kind of market or the environment, you do not want to be overpricing. In fact, it's even risky to price right at where the market is. So you've got to have these really long discussions with your clients and tell them what's going on so you don't end up being that first or second realtor who doesn't make it. You want to be the third one, or at least at the beginning, if you're the first one, you're going to want to price that right and have a really good discussion with your seller. It's also why you want to be in communication with them. We've talked about our weekly seller reports to make sure that we're talking to them every week about what's actually happening in the market. So we're educating them because an educated mind will make a good decision, right? Okay, good. That was great news. Angela, congratulations. Any other good news?
We got a text back on Thursday from a gentleman in our PCSOI that I had breakfast with a few weeks ago. But he reached out on Thursday and said, "Hey, who were you talking about again for senior placement? I need to start looking at placement for my mom." So it went from a someday in the think about it later pile, we need to look at a place for mom, to, okay, that day is now. We need to start looking. And so eventually, I think that is going to unfold because after he finds placement for mom, then it's going to be, what do we do with the house? So just building these relationships and, keeping that very non-pushy, provide the service, and things fall into place.
Excellent story, an excellent point.
Yeah, we actually had two of those last week. Some other clients as well reaching out saying, okay, we need resources for A, B, C, and D. And I know I told you guys, I spent hours last week tracking down resources for these other clients. Neither of them are ready to list yet, but eventually they will be. And I'm very confident that we're going to be their go-to people.
For sure. Offering above required service, right? Getting connected with these people on a personal level and helping them achieve whatever they need to do, as the article was basically stating that we started with, and it's a theme that plays out in a lot of different ways. And you just feel good. You just feel good helping people, whether it turns into business or not, right? But the universe has a very interesting way of kicking that back. I just noticed over my lifetime. It may not even be direct, like Kim just helped these two people. Maybe they end up providing business to her, or maybe not. Maybe it comes from some other source, just pops into your world, didn't even know why. Um, anyway, good job, Kim. Anybody else got good news you'd like to share?
Yeah, I'll share one that's a RAMS story, good RAMS story. Today, I am going over to sign the listing agreement for a home that the sellers and I have been in regular communication for the past 6 weeks or so. They've been prepping their home, getting it ready. And I went over last week, I think on Thursday or Friday, to take a kind of a walk through to see the progress they've made on the home. It was full of stuff when we first met. Now they moved everything out. They've done a lot of work, and we're going to be listing it this weekend is when it should be going live actually early next week. But anyway, the point I wanted to make is that when I was over there last Thursday afternoon, I went over, they were doing a lot of work, repairing things and stuff. So I arrive and I'm meeting with the wife, and the husband and his two sons are out on the back porch staining the deck. And so she says, okay, you ready to take a look around, Blake, so we can make sure we're on the same page with everything? Sure. So we walk out to the back deck and she says, guys, the inspector is here. And so I just got a big kick out of that she had elevated me to be the one who's deciding if this is suitable to sell. And that's kind of where they've approached me the entire time, is just, Blake, what do you think? What do we need to do? Where do we go with this? How are we going to price it? All these things. So I just wanted to point that out. And that I'm sure that confidence is because they're from my PCSOI. And so they're from my sphere of influence, not from but uh, for a while, and our good friends. So we have good relationships, just like the guy in the article. We talk about a lot of things that have nothing to do with real estate.
That's excellent, Blake. That is fantastic. That is great news and a great story. They've elevated you to expert status. That's the beauty of working with your friends, family, and past clients. You already have that level of trust. And you probably also feel more confident speaking with them when you're talking about topics, because you do know them as well. Um, and it has a personal element. You want to make sure you do a really good job for them on that one-to-one level, as well as one to a group. You want the whole group to know you did a good job. So I know that you've been sharing your successes over the last several years with your PCSOI. And so they've also seen that you are able to accomplish the goal that they want to achieve. So that's important. We've got to remember that we've got to toot our own horn. You've always got to share your successes with the people that you want to work with, because nobody else is going to do it for you. All right. Your broker's not going to come down and start telling your PCSOI you're a great guy or great gal, right? That's not going to happen. You've got to be the one to share that good information. So good job, Blake. Congratulations on this upcoming listing. The other thing I think is a really good part of that story is that you were involved for the entire process. It's not like you walked over there and that very next minute you listed it. You've been working with them over the course of a month or so, or maybe more, to get this property prepared. And you didn't just do it over the phone, you were over there in person, right? You're making that personal connection, taking a look at the property and giving them advice and tips and answering their questions, giving them confidence that they're going the right direction. They're making a good move or choice. So good job. That's great news.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Very good. All right. Thank you for all the good news. I love the way we're getting started here. We are in the spring. Again, this is the hot part of the market. So make sure that you are in front of your PCSOI. If you have not talked to them for any reason, get out there this week and talk to them. Make sure they know that you are around and you are in business and you can help them. Critical right now, critical. All right, this is the time of year to overdo it, to get out in front of them more than you even think you need to. Okay, because people have already made decisions or they're right in the middle of making decisions. I've talked to a bunch of people this last couple of weeks. They're planning on doing stuff in May. So, I mean, they're all coming in. They're all coming into the market. It's usually the hottest time of the year, the springtime. All right, with that in mind, events. Anybody doing any events coming up? If you are, what's the event and how's it going?
Well, I think Blake has an event coming up.
I do. I just didn't want to be the one to open my mic yet. I thought I'd see what else anybody has. I do have my goat event coming up. You're exactly right, Angela. Um, Planning on doing this the Saturday before Easter, so less than 2 weeks away, and be inviting my PCSOI to my home, basically my front yard, where we have some acreage and I raise Nigerian dwarf, they're miniature goats. And I've got babies that are due any minute. I should have baby goats on the ground and ready to be held. And that will be a lot of fun. I've had success with that in the past, as you know. And I expect that we'll have people come and enjoy it. They're always excited and always want to talk to me about the goats. And it makes great material to talk about with folks as well as publish on social media.
That's fantastic, Blake. Congratulations putting that event together. And that's your theme, right? You raise these goats. People know that you raise the goats. You're using it in your marketing. You should talk to your accountant. Maybe you can write off some of the goat expense in your marketing expense for your business. Actually, now you think about it.
You know, when you're a farmer, you actually get even better deductions than a realtor does. So, yeah, farmers get a little bit special treatment. So yes, I'm all over that. Yeah.
As they should. That's good news. I'm glad to
Yeah.
hear that. That's cool. That is cool. Excellent, Blake. Well, good luck on the event. Can't wait to hear how it goes. Blake, why do you do events? What's the power of the event?
Oh, well, the power of the event is the invitation, the opportunity to call someone, speak to someone, mail someone an invitation, text someone, email it, all of the ways that you can contact someone. The power is in the invitation because on the other side of that, somebody's going to be thinking, wow, Blake thought of me. That's great. That Blake, I tell you what, I don't want to forget him when the time comes for me to sell.
That's exactly right, Blake.
Yeah.
You've invited them into your inner circle. And whether they show up or not, they got the invitation.
That's
So
right.
you're going to invite 100 people and only maybe 15 or 20 actually show up to the event, but all 100 feel good. They all feel connected to you because of that invitation. So that's why events are so powerful. Um, and I keep trying to remind people of that. You do an event and only 3 people show up and you think, oh, this is a failure. It's not a failure. If you invited the 100 people, that was a huge success. You touched 100 people. That's the key. And you touched them in a fun and easy and light going way. It's not heavy duty pressure, which again, you can do and it works. But a lot of us get tired of doing that. And people get tired of hearing that from us, hey, are you thinking about moving in the next 90 days? Who do you know is thinking about buying or selling a home? You can do that and it works, but it feels like pounding sand. It's tough. And inviting and having events, a fun, easy, simple event, it's a lot more enjoyable for us and for them. And it keeps our face in front of them. So good job, Blake. Good job, Blake. I really like how you've been pouring into events. Anybody else have an event you're going to be doing that's coming up that you would like to share?
So I was trying to decide what to do with my golden eggs, and I decided that, just because things are a little busy right now, that I would incorporate. Patty and I are doing an open house on Sunday, and we're kind of making it a grand open house, combining it as like a broker open, inviting real estate agents, asking them, telling them they can invite their clients, as well as inviting neighbors and our PCSOI, just anybody who wants to come. And so incorporating my eggs into the giveaways. So enter to win stuff at the open house. I don't know, I may even hide a couple eggs. Still trying to figure all of that out. But yeah, so I'm gonna use my open house.
That sounds fantastic. That's a cool project. It's pretty interesting how you decided. We had this little kernel, this idea from Blake's golden egg event, and you've taken that idea and you've spun it in a different direction to make it work for your group. And it's fun, it's inexpensive, and again, it allows you to do an invitation, right? Yeah. Power is in the invitation. Good job, Angela. Good job. Can't wait to hear how that event goes. Um, good stuff. Good stuff. All right. So we've got events. Anybody else have an event before I move on?
I was going to ask Angela, I know this is an open house and it's coming up this weekend, so you don't have a lot of time, but are you going to kind of, how are you going to pre-sell this, I guess, so that it's bigger than an open house? Come on over. We're doing more than just the open house.
Well, what do you think about open house extravaganza?
That's great.
I
That's
love that. I think that's so creative.
So yes, tying it into the theme of the month, holiday of the month, as well as um, because I'm limited on time, and Patty and I were talking, and I'm like, well, let's just do it as a broker's open and a public open, and just invite anybody and everybody, and you know, uh, yeah, so it's going to be a lot of marketing in a couple of days of time because the listing won't go active till today. So I will be hitting the pavement. We're going to go there Saturday, the day before, get things ready at the open, go meet some neighbors, knock on some doors, and invite people. So, yeah.
You could incorporate some food somehow. That will get the realtors there for sure.
Giveaways and food.
Some chocolate eggs. Easter,
Yeah.
something with Easter.
I bought some fillable eggs that were clear in different shapes that if kids come have candy in them, or, I guess adults could take some too. So, yeah, the open house extravaganza. So we probably are changing the title from grand, but the timing is right for that, I think.
Extravaganza. Had to write that down. Good job. Cool. All right, that's great. Good luck with that event. Can't wait to hear how it plays out. Angela, let's do this. Let's make sure we open up for any issues that you would like to talk about here, and while we're all together with our mastermind. Do you have any, are you experiencing any challenges in your real estate practice that you would like the group to talk about? Would you like to share any successes with the group that we haven't talked about yet that you think people could learn from? Anything you'd like us to kind of focus our brain in on to help move the business along?
Uh, the PCSOI, I've done a poor job over the last few years, so I need a way to reconnect with them.
Mark, that's a good one. The first thing to do is, and thank you for bringing that up. So the very first thing, remember we gave you, first of all, before I forget, you've got the manual, right? You got the quick start guide. Do you have the link to that, Mark? Just to make sure you have the link to it.
I do, and I've got it on my YouTube now, so I'm starting to go through it. It's great. Just on my TV. It's awesome.
Perfect. That's awesome. So just start working your way through there. And the first step is to get your list put together. And that's usually where people fall apart, right? Because they don't get the list going. So we'll all help you, and everybody help me brainstorm with Mark ideas on how to get that list put together. A couple of early ideas. Don't think you have to get everybody on the list before you start marketing to them or reaching out to them, right? So it's kind of a work in progress. So just get what you can, even if it's only 3 people, and then just start adding people as you're kind of moving along through time. Because some of us, especially if we have a C personality, the disc profile, we think, oh, I got to get all of them on there first. I got to do this step completely before I can move to the next step. And that slows us down, or we never get to the next step. So that would be my first piece of advice. The second quick idea is putting the list together. A great place for people to start, if you haven't been keeping a list, is to look in your phone, okay, your cell phone, and you just look under contacts. You probably have a lot of your people there. Again, we're looking for past clients and then sphere of influence. So friends, family, connections. And I'm going to give you a definition in a minute of who you should put on this list, because it is a very special list. But if you get that phone, those contacts, there's going to be a way to download it. Angela's put together some videos on how to do that, depending on the phone you have. And you can download those contacts out of your phone into a spreadsheet. And now you can look at it and start manipulating it, adding information, seeing what you have. I want these people, I don't want those folks, or I need to reconnect with this person, etc. You really can start getting a handle on who you actually have. And a lot of people have a lot more people in their contacts than they realize at first. As you're deciding, do people go on this list or not? And then I want to open this up. The one last thing is the grocery store test. Okay, the grocery store test will tell you whether they should be on your list or not. And the grocery store test is, if you were in the grocery store walking down an aisle, you're pushing a cart down an aisle, and the person that you're thinking about is pushing a cart up the aisle the opposite direction. So now you're facing each other, you're seeing each other. You start from far away and you're getting closer and closer. Would you all stop? Would you all stop as you came together? Would you recognize each other? Could you strike up a conversation? And I say it that way on purpose. Like, I am not very good at recall on names, but I'm really good on faces. Other people are really good on names, but maybe not as good at faces. Whatever it is, if you could just strike up a conversation with them, then yeah, they go on the list. But if you would just keep pushing your cart right by them, you wouldn't talk to them, and they do the same to you, then they don't go on this list. This is a very special list. This is a list you only want the people on the list that you feel comfortable with, because if you put someone on this list that you would have pushed your cart by, you actually don't like them, or they don't like you, or there's some animosity. If you put them on the list, it's going to poison the whole list. You are not going to want to reach out to the list because that one or two people that are on there that you don't like. Okay, so that's why it's critical that you only put people on there that you feel comfortable with, and you would stop and strike up a conversation. Even if they've sold 3 homes with you, but you don't like them, or something went bad and you guys don't like each other anymore, do not put them on the list. They go on a separate list. By the way, you can have multiple lists. You can have other kinds of lists, like people I maybe might want to work with in the future, or people I never want to work with. All the top agents have a dead list. They name it different things, but it's dead relationships. Whatever happened, it just died, and they don't want to communicate anymore. That's fine. Put people on that list that don't work. It's very important to have that dead list so that you feel really good about reaching out to the people on your current list, your PCSOI list. Okay, so that's another piece of advice as you're building the list. All right, anybody else have any information you'd like to share with Mark on how to build the list, who should be on the list, etc.?
So, Mark, you're not alone. I think every single one of us has been in that position where we haven't kept up with those relationships for a variety of reasons. One, life takes over, people get busy, you get busy, and you think, well, they haven't kept up with me either. I mean, it happens. There's that saying, friends for a reason, friends for a season. Sometimes life just gets in the way, and that's okay. And relationships are hard to maintain. And sometimes, I know, speaking for me personally, maybe because I'm such a high I, sometimes you just get burnout on being the one to try to keep those relationships going. And then all of a sudden you realize, okay, I need to circle back around to this and be social again. I need to pretend to like people again. So you have to kind of come to terms with it. One way that I rekindled my PCSOI is I just took a handful of people just to get started, and I just wrote them a handwritten note. Didn't even really tell them what I was doing, what I was up to. It was just hey, you've been on my mind lately. I want you to know that I'm thinking about you. I was thinking about the time we went to the Rockies game together, or, just something completely benign, but just, kind of something out of left field. And that has been really successful for me, kind of coming back into this space. I have gotten so many phone calls, and people have said, Kim, I was having the worst week. I've been so depressed, and I went out to the mailbox and I had this beautiful card from you. And these are people that friends for a season, right? Like I hadn't talked to them in a while. It's not like my best friend Holly, where we text 20 times a day. These are people that I probably hadn't talked to in years, where it may even be a little uncomfortable if you saw them in the grocery store, just because it's not that anything bad ever happened. It's just life happens and people go their separate ways. People get busy. So, I just want to validate what you're saying. You didn't do anything wrong. We've all been there. We have all made that mistake. And it's a good time to put things in perspective. What do you want to do going forward? What do you want to do differently? And how do you want to rekindle with those people? And who do you want to rekindle with? Because some people you probably don't. But it is weird when all of a sudden you have to flip the script and it's like, okay, I'm going to have to be the one to do the reach out again. And you kind of have to get over that mental hang up a little bit. So do it in a way that's comfortable for you. I don't think you need to get on the phone and say, hey, remember me, Mark Doris? I'm in real estate now. You want to buy your... I don't think you need to do any of that. You can do it with events. You can do it with notes. You can do it with just a random, hey, I'm thinking about you, card or email or whatever. Do whatever works for you. Just take action and do something. And I think that Mike interviewed this kid early on when he started coaching. And this kid had a saying, everybody's a kid, I guess, now when you get to this age. But he had a saying, what you hand out in slices comes back in loaves. And I loved that saying because I think it's so profound. And so I think that you'll find that once you start taking some action here, you're going to hand out some slices and it's going to come back in loaves. But I don't want you to feel bad that because you haven't kept up with people. Um, they haven't kept up with us either, and life gets really hectic. Life is messy. So cut yourself some slack, give yourself some grace, and just take whatever action feels comfortable for you.
Great
That was my
advice, Kim.
public service announcement of the day.
That was wonderful. Thank you, Kim. Thank you.
On that idea of the cards, I think we should have Blake tune in a little bit, chime in. Blake, you have done some intentional card writing over the years. If I remember, the Thanksgiving gratitude cards were really successful. Could you share what you did there?
Yes, and I do occasionally send one now, and it's probably one of the best things I've done, and I need to get back on it. I'm so proud because my wife now writes cards, and she just wrote one last night while we were sitting down. She sat down and wrote a card to someone, but it's yeah, it's just personal notes from a point of appreciation. And I think that's kind of what Kim was talking about, her note to a friend who was lit up because of it. I've had numerous people respond to me when I've sent them a note, a card, and it's just a note card. Mine has my name on it. Doesn't say anything about my real estate company, but it's just a folding card like that. I don't know if I have. Yeah, I've got one here. Yeah, so it's just a note card. It's got my name there, and then I just open it up and write, a note of appreciation. Usually is my goal. Um, and I think what we talked about at that Thanksgiving campaign that I did, I really was very intentional in writing something that would be memorable to hopefully to both of us. But I would show that person some way that I appreciated them specifically with a very specific example. I learned that from a parenting class. So the specific example would usually have the wording of something along the lines of, I really appreciate the way you, or I've always admired whatever. Use those phrases. I've always admired something about the way you a parent to your son, the way you help people when they are in need. I think you get the idea. When you say, I've always admired, then someone realizes that you've been paying attention to them more than maybe the next guy, or just in a way that's really very sweet and special.
That's
And
awesome.
I've had people take photos of my card and text it to me and say, thanks so much. And I've certainly had people stop me. You know, I see a lot of folks at church and places like that, and they'll stop me and say, hey, I got your card. That was really nice. Thank you very much. That kind of thing.
Awesome, Blake. And just as the practical side of, the concept of what you were doing, I think it was the month of November, and I think you were maybe sending out 3 a day. Is that right? It was 3 or 5 a day or
Yeah.
something like that. You had an intention
Yeah, my goal was
day to send them out.
That's correct, Mike. It was November, and I decided I was going to do 5 a day on weekdays. So that gave me whatever, 25 a week. And over a 4-week period, that was going to cover the people I needed to cover right then. So that was exactly what I did. I thought I'm going to do 5 a day. I got the idea from President George Bush. He's famous for doing that, writing notes. Brian Buffini, by the way, is I've heard the give it away in slices, it comes back in loaves. I've heard that from Brian Buffini before.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Blake. Good job. Thank you for sharing. And by the way, we all don't have to wait till Thanksgiving to do this. You can do it at any time.
Right.
So good job. And any other advice, because we only have a couple minutes left, any other advice on how Mark can put together his list, right? Because you can't do these things if you don't have someone to send it to. So you got to put together the list first. The very first step is the list. We talked about pull it out of your phone. Any other advice? Mark, here's another piece. If you have kept old closing files, I used to have boxes and boxes of them for a long time, taking up a bajillion pieces of space. But maybe digitally or physically, if you could go through old closing files and pull out the names, if you haven't kept it on a list, that would be a way to reconstitute it. The other way is to go to a title company. If you're closing with a title company all the time, or a mortgage company, and you do a lot of business with them, you could say, hey, is there any way you could pull up my past clients I've done business with? I know it was X number of years ago. You probably don't have it, but is it possible you still do? You might be surprised. They might have it, and a way for you to at least pull up a group of them. You're just trying to think of brainstorming all these ideas on how you can pull this list together and put it on a spreadsheet and get it organized. Again, past clients, friends, family. So invitation list for family. Who do you invite to parties? Who do you write cards to at Christmas? Those are other things I've heard people use to get their list going. Any other brainstorming, folks, that I haven't mentioned?
I think I can go back through my MLS for my own activity. And I think I can put a date range in there. Am I right? Yeah, we could go back 10 years and say, who was I doing business with a decade ago? At least I'd find the properties. I don't know if I wouldn't find all the documents, I guess, but I'd find the properties and who bought them, I guess. And I'd know that.
It's a good point, Blake. It is limited. You mentioned it only goes back 10 years. I think mine goes back 15 years in my MLS for some reason. It doesn't go all the way back, so I can't get a lot of my production that way. Mark might have the same problem, or he might not. It might be a good way and something to look into, Mark, is can you look back into your MLS to try to find those people? I'll give you one other thing real fast as you're building that list. I know you relocated at one point, Mark. And so the question is, do you keep those people on your list? And the answer is probably. You're not that far away from them, and they may have referrals into your area or know people that are moving in and out of your area. And then you just break your list into groups, right? I got people in my immediate area. I got people that are an hour away. I got people in other states. And then you just create a little bit of a tiered marketing program. Like the people that are out of state, maybe you just reach out to once a quarter. The people that are an hour away, maybe you're just reaching out to them every 2 months. The people that are right in your local area, you're reaching out to them monthly with something that's going on. Okay, because remember, the power is in the invitation. So even if they can't show up to your event, they're impressed that you thought of them. And as Kim pointed out, and now Blake as well, if they're having a rough day, it's pretty nice to get an invitation from somebody, right? It's nice to think somebody's thought of you, especially when you're having a rough day.
Yeah, and I love Blake's idea. I've done something very similar, not necessarily real estate related, but over the course of my life. Like I remember one time sending a handwritten letter to a couple of teachers back in high school that were very influential to me, just saying, I really want to thank you for looking out for me in 12th grade and helping me pass this class, or whatever the case may be. People really love genuine connection. I love the idea of tying it into Thanksgiving. I mean, you don't wait that long to do it, but that's a brilliant idea. I'm thankful for you for these reasons or whatever. That's fantastic. Mark, as you're building your list, don't forget like professional connections, people in the professional space as well, other lenders, title reps, whatever. These people may or may not make your Christmas card list. They may or may not make your hug a goat day or whatever your thing is going to be. I think Blake should give us all goats personally. But don't forget those professional connections as well. Also, neighbors. I'm not really going to invite a lot of my neighbors out to things, but it's amazing how many people I have now become very friendly with just not walking the dog around the neighborhood. And again, it's little connections. It's when we have the foot of snow, I'll reach out to an elderly neighbor in the neighborhood who lost her husband and say, "Do you need somebody to come shovel for you today?" Or, "Do you need somebody to get groceries or whatever?" So again, those little acts of service. So don't forget those people too, because they're very influential, even though they may not make your Christmas card list. They might be, like Mike was saying, there's different levels of lists, just like there are friends. You have like A level friends and B level friends and C level friends. There's like a hierarchy. It's like an onion with layers. But don't forget the people that are a couple of layers out, because sometimes they're your best referrers.
Excellent points, Kim. Uh, one final thought, we're running out of time. So one final thing as you're building that list, do you add people who have real estate agents in the family? The answer is yes. Can't tell you how much business I received over the years from people who had multiple people in their family who are realtors. And the reason they chose me was exactly that. They said, I don't want to piss anybody off by picking the wrong one. So I'm just going to pick somebody off that's, outside of that close sphere. So these things can work for and against you. That's why you just kind of bring everybody in, let it play out, right? Let it play out. Okay. Now, if they're a realtor, you still might invite them, but you might do it a little, actually you still might invite them because the failure rate is 80% in the first 5 years. So you still might invite them. Or at least keep them on a sub list, right? For sure. Don't throw them away. All right, everybody, thank you for being here for the production call. Hopefully it was productive. Did we like the call today? Kind of went a little different direction, kind of added a bunch of different things. Good. All right. So we're finishing the production call. Let's go into the huddle. We're going to talk about 2 questions you're going to be asked. Number one thing you did yesterday or last business day to move your business forward. Number one thing you're going to do today to move your business forward. This helps us get focused. Again, the first question answers, hey, I feel good about what I did. And the second question is, hey, what am I going to do moving forward? All right, so who would like to start?
I'll start, please. Number one thing yesterday I wasn't productive. Number one thing today is catching up on admin and getting my newsletter out. I've been procrastinating on that, so it's my goal to get that out and sent to my whole list today.
Good job, Tristan. Are you feeling better now? I know you were under the weather last week, went to the doctor. You feeling better now?
Yeah, I'm getting there. Not 100%, but stepped out the house today and locking in to get this work done and hopefully get back on the doors this week as well.
Good man. And then, so what today you're doing is you're following up with all those leads that you found on the doors by getting that newsletter out, yeah?
Yes, sir.
Good job. Good job, Tristan, and good luck.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, who's next?
Okay. I'll go first, Angela. I yesterday made my 2 calls, 2 dials, and had 1 conversation, 1 voicemail, and then today my listing agreement, which I should be getting signed this evening.
That's fantastic, Blake. Congratulations. You made your dials out. These are cold dials to people you don't know, to our special list. And you said you had a conversation. Did it go well?
Yeah, this person is not interested in selling, but yeah, we had a very courteous and kind phone call. So
That's
it was good.
fantastic. On that special list, keep in mind it's about 2/3. 2/3 are going to sell. That's why it's such a powerful list. But 1/3 is not. And so we just still are reaching out and having a nice little conversation, a little touch base. And people also change their mind, right? They say, hey, I'm not going to do that. And then they flip and their circumstances change and they may reach back out. So excellent job reaching out, Blake. I love it. Good job. And good job on the new listing. Congratulations. Hope that goes well as you're bringing it into the market. All right, cool. All right, who's next?
I'll go ahead and go. So yesterday, I guess the one thing that was big on moving my real estate business forward, because I worked on some other things as well, was working on a mail campaign for mail. And then today, I plan to make a couple of calls and also get that listing activated, working on that.
That's awesome. Good job, Angela. Good luck with putting the mail campaigns together. The nice thing about mail is it's kind of, if you set it up, it can run in the background. It's a one-to-many communication. So, like we talked about the personal cards, that's one-to-one. The mailing campaigns tend to be one-to-many. So you're reaching out to a lot of people and keeping your face in front of them. And that's the way you should think about it, especially for PCSY. If you're going to do something to people you don't know, remember you have to have call to action and you have to make a specific offer. In any event, good job reaching out, creating your mail, and good job reaching out to your people. I heard you say you're going to make some calls. So those are cold calls to people you don't know. These are always difficult for everybody, but good job getting out there. We have to expand our PCSOI if we want our business to grow. So we got to bring more people into the fold. So good work. Good job, Angela. Who's next?
Yesterday, I purchased my first set of leads from a chute and should have those within 72 hours. Today, I'm going to start working on the PCSOI list. That would be my number one. I also got to get a new phone, and I'm going to get a new phone number because I still have an Orange County area code. So I think it's been 7 years out here. It's time to transfer over the area code. Good time before I make the calls.
That sounds great, Mark. Congratulations. Good job getting a prospecting list put together. That's fantastic. And excellent job putting together the list. That will take a while. That will take some time, your PCSOI, but it is worth it. Everybody on this call has put together their PCSOI. It was a bear to do for various reasons. And but it is so worthwhile. Everybody agree that it's worthwhile putting that list together so you have a focus. All right, cool. Good job. So good luck on that today, Mark. Kim, did you go yet?
No, not yet. Yesterday, I sent out some marketing pieces to some clients. I actually walked them up to the post office this morning as I was out walking the dog. We've got seller reports to do today, and then just some various admin tasks to keep the trains running on time.
Good job, Kim. That's fantastic. Way to get the marketing out so we stay in front of people. New clients, always looking for a new client. And way to move the whole ship forward. That's excellent. All right, I'll make it real fast. Yesterday, again, always looking for new business. I made 6 new cold calls because I have a small list, but I made 6. I talked to 3, which is great. What a great ratio. And one said, no, they're not selling. One said, might sell. And they took my information and they're going to hand it to another person who makes the decision. And the third one said, yeah, I'm selling. I'm selling in 60 days. So that was really interesting. I'll just leave everybody with this one thought. I initially said, hey, to this third person. I said, hey, do you want to sell XYZ Street? The property at XYZ Street? And she said, no, I'm not selling that property. So, okay, well, the conversation's dead, right? No, I came with the follow-up question. Are there any other properties that you would like to sell? Oh, yeah, I got this other property on ABC Street. I said, fantastic. When would you like to sell that? Well, probably by April or May, and we started talking about it. So within 60 days, that's going to be going on the market. And I hope to have an opportunity. And so I didn't get as far enough to set up an appointment, but I now have a lead. She said it's okay to keep following up. So there we go. You're finding people every day. You're turning over rocks and finding people. When you're doing cold calling, you're just turning over rocks, finding people and adding them up, and you let the numbers start playing for themselves. That's why you got to stay active every day. Making a couple dials a day is way better than not making any. Okay, because they all accumulate. Especially this list on our special project, because they have a high propensity to sell. All right, everybody, thank you so much for being here for the production call. Appreciate it. Hope you have a fantastic and productive rest of your day.